Hey, what's going on, everybody? You guys are checking out episode number 169 of the HoopDoctors.com podcast. And once again, I go by the name of Kevin Burke. If Steve Kerr is smart, Steph Curry does not come back until the conference finals. And I don't care if Portland goes home and somehow manages to win those two games and ties this series up at 2 games apiece. I still think you got to sit Steph until the conference finals. I mean, they're doing well without him. Now, they're not going to win a chip without him, but for right now, they can get by Portland without him. Again, I don't care if they tie it up at 2 games apiece to make this a series. I mean, Steph came back against Houston in the first round probably too early after rolling his ankle and suffered a freak injury. I know it had nothing to do with him coming back too early. He slipped on a wet spot and got hurt. But that's evidence that these basketball injury guys are playing no games this postseason, right? No games. Just rest him up. He'll be fine for the conference finals. And like I said before, they're rolling without him. I mean, now there's even discussion around, is he really the league MVP? Should he be deserving of a league MVP if his team is doing so well without him? No, he's not the most valuable player to his own team in the league. There are other guys ahead of him in that category, but he's the best player on a team that won 73 games. So, yeah, I'd say that qualifies as being the league MVP. And this OKC San Antonio series, this is an interesting one, man. I mean, I don't have a horse in that race, but if I had to pick one heading in, I would like to see OKC get by San Antonio and advance to the conference finals for no reason other than I think the days are numbered that we're going to be able to see this Thunder team as constantly constructed. I mean, with free agency coming up, guys going to be leaving. I think in a couple of years, OKC may be gutted. We're not going to recognize any of these guys. I think the key guys are going to be gone. So for that reason and that reason alone, I'd like to see OKC get by San Antonio. But after watching the first 2 games, man, I don't think so. I mean, they got the break speed off of them in game 1, and game 2 they barely got by with a controversial ending. And I mean, Russ and KD, they have to do so much, and I don't even know whose team it is, and I think that's important. These great teams that win championships, usually you know whose team it is, you know who the man is, but you do have to have a 1-2 punch. But again, you clearly know whose team it is, and I don't really know whose team it is right now. I mean, both guys can't sit at the same time. One guy always has to be on the floor, right? If you got KD and Russ on the bench in foul trouble, who's scoring? Dion Waiters? You got Waiters out there doing God knows what until one of those guys come back. So it's a tough spot that they're in because those 2 guys got to do so much, and San Antonio is just a load. I don't know how they're going to get by these guys. I'd like to see it, but I don't see how they get by San Antonio. They're so deep. They don't have an answer for LaMarcus. He's averaging like 40 points roughly in the series already. I mean, and his Cantor can't check him. Serge Ibaka can't check him. It's just a mismatch for these guys right now. And Barkley says that, KD and Russ, they don't trust their teammates. He keeps going back to that point on on TNT. I don't think it's necessarily that they don't trust their teammates, but like I said, the other guys are not super offensively talented, so there's a subtle difference. Let me step away from the playoffs for just a second to talk about the Lakers. Byron Scott out, Luke Walton in, and my question is why? I mean, that move makes absolutely no sense to me, and basketball nerds are going to try to convince me that because Luke Walton won 39 games this year while coaching the Warriors, and that's more than Byron Scott won in 2 seasons coaching the Lakers, that should mean something. I mean, really? You don't think Byron Scott, if the roles were reversed, the outcome would have been the exact same thing for Byron Scott and Luke Walton? I mean, the Warriors are an autopilot team like we've never seen before. You just set this team to autopilot and they just go. They don't need a coach. There doesn't need to be anybody on the sideline calling up plays. They don't really run plays that more often anyway. All right, they kind of just do their thing. They click offensively. They fit extremely well, all the pieces on the team. That is an autopilot team. How do I know? Because when Steve Kerr was out and they were like 20-0, he said, "Whoa, I can really see these guys really miss me." I mean, he knows he's not really coaching Steve Kerr. He knows he's just kind of there and he's reaping all the benefits of all that. So when you try to convince me that Luke Walton is doing something in Golden State to earn this job in the Lakers, I'm completely lost. And why would Byron Scott be fired after 2 years? I mean, what was the expectation of Byron Scott in L.A.? I mean, seriously, a championship? What was the expectation? I mean, now Kobe's gone, right? They're going to have more cap room. The salary cap is going to raise. Why not give him another year to prove himself now? I mean, the guys have been with him for 2 years. You haven't really heard anything about, the guys not responding to him or not liking him. I mean, now see, this year with Kobe gone, again, with more money to play with, this is the year where Byron Scott could have really come into his own, and maybe you could have seen an improvement. But now you want to start all over with Luke Walton because he stepped in and was the figurehead for an autopilot Warriors team for the first half of the season. And this bothers me so much because as all this is going on, the great Patrick Ewing is still an assistant. SMH. But that's all I got. Podcast number 169 in the books. I'm going to check you guys out next week. Until then, be good.